Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Ben, and welcome to this WASarD devlog. WASarD is a wacky roguelite single-stick auto shooter. So what does it mean to be a single-stick auto shooter? Well, unlike traditional roguelites, like Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon as an example, in WASarD, you only play using a single control scheme and then one interaction button. So you could play with WASD, you could play with the arrow keys, you could play with a single joystick, and you move your character, and they will automatically fire at the nearest enemy. So aiming is not a part of this game. I wanted to focus more on the positioning of your character and the upgrade synergies, and then make the aiming as accessible as possible. So where you position your character is important while you're playing the game, but you don't have to worry about how you're aiming. And some of the inspiration from this came from games like Vampire Survivors. I find it really fun to be able to just position the character on the screen and let the aiming automatically happen. However, if you find aiming to be a crucial aspect of the fun in roguelite shooters, like Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon, then WASarD isn't for you, so keep that in mind. That's a little bit of an introduction to the game. I wanted to talk about where I want to go with this devlog series. I want to talk about the journey of getting here to the point that I'm at. That's mostly going to be in this video. However, from here on out, what I'd like to do is create some kind of like, let's put it this way, tutorials disguised as devlogs, or devlogs disguised as tutorials. I'm not sure which, but if you see any features in the game that look interesting to you, look like something you'd want to implement in one of your games, then you can let me know, and I will try to make a tutorial video on it using the same code that I used in the game to explain it and let you know how I did it so you can use it in your projects moving forward as well. That's kind of the goal. But for the rest of this devlog, I'm going to show off kind of what I have so far, the features that I have so far, and you can let me know in the comments below if any of them sound interesting to you. Okay, very first, let's go in and do our very first battle. Whoops. Hold on. Okay, let's try that again. So I had one of the later features turned on still. I don't want it to be on yet because it'll be confusing. So let's enter this fight. Ooh. Whoops. That was silly. Should not have taken damage there. Okay, so that's what the basic game loop looks like. You enter a room, you're trapped in the room, you position yourself accordingly to target specific enemies and avoid getting hit. I got some gold for completing that. I got some essence down in the bottom left corner, and I get to upgrade my primary spell. Let's do a fire rate upgrade on the primary spell to increase how quickly we're shooting. So primary spells and their upgrades are the very first feature. The other feature is relics. So you can pick up a relic and they're on a cooldown. See, this is the sneaker relic. It allows me to dash with some invincibility. And when I dash through an enemy, or when I dash, then I can't dash again until the cooldown has finished. So dashing is kind of like it's kind of a very it will get you out of really tough situations, but you can't spam it. There's quite a long cooldown timer on it. Okay, we don't have quite enough gold to go into the shop yet, so I'm going to complete another round and get some gold. Okay, I cleared the room below me. We can come into the shop and purchase an item. We come over an item, it gives us a description of that item. We could increase our speed, we could increase our fire rate even more, and we could increase our heart drop rate. Or we could pay 1 gold to re-roll the shop items. I think I'm just going to increase our fire rate even more here. And when we enter a fight, we can fire much more quickly. And you can see with both of these upgrades, we're getting ahead of the curve here on this dungeon level. Let's go in and fight the boss. And this could potentially show us a little bit more the importance of positioning during a fight. If I come over here, I can kind of trap myself, so we want to be careful about getting in the corners. Got a quick enough fire rate, doesn't matter too much. Let's go down into the second level of the dungeon here. Okay, I came into the shop. We've got a charm here that's going to drastically increase my attack, but I'm reduced to max health. So let's try this charm. It's a little bit of a, I guess a glass, kind of more of like a glass cannon charm. You can see we're getting into a little bit more bullet hell vibes here, and certain enemies we need to consider where we're positioned when we kill the enemy. So that's it. There's 2 dungeons right now. There's actually a demo of this available on itch.io if you want to go play it right now. I highly recommend doing it and wishlisting the game on Steam. There's a few other features I want to show though before we end this video. Okay, so the 2 other features I want to show are essence upgrades. So let's look at that real quick. Essence upgrades are a way for you to unlock permanent upgrades for your character, persistent between every single run. This is a roguelite, but I did want a way for players to be able to continue to progress in the game if they were getting stuck on something, or a way for players to be able to make the game more difficult if they found certain parts of it too easy. Currently, the demo build is, I think, too easy personally, but again, it's very early in development. I've only been working on this project for 3 months now. So if we use the heart ward here, we can increase our hearts, or we could come down, we could decrease our hearts with the heart curse. I'm going to turn on the coin ward just to give us some extra coins. That kind of makes it interesting. Maybe I'll reduce 2 hearts as well to make it more interesting. And these are completely toggleable, so even if you have them unlocked, you can turn them off and on as you please. They're not always on. Let's start our run. And the other feature that I added, which doesn't have any UI for it right now, is a secondary spell. So I've added a secondary spell to my character who's got the primary spell and a secondary spell. Now, primary spells, relics, right? You activate them with a single key, and then they have a cooldown time. Your primary spell just fires constantly; it's automatic. Secondary spells fire under some certain condition. So the spell that I currently have equipped to the character that is a secondary spell will fire when I kill an enemy. And this makes my positioning interesting because I want to position myself in a way where when I kill one enemy, I have line of sight on another enemy. Otherwise, the secondary spell won't fire. It can only fire if there's another enemy that it can see. And I also want to make sure that I'm close enough to that second enemy that I'm going to be able to hit it. So let's look at what this looks like in practice. Now again, keep in mind this feature is very early in development, the secondary spells. So currently it just shoots out 3 of the same projectile that the primary spell shoots. And it's also a little bit overpowered right now. But I think it shows off some interesting parts of the game. Okay, so you saw there at the end there was a snake up here and a snake right here. And I immediately ran down and positioned myself right here so that I could be able to have line of sight on both enemies. If I'd been over here, then when I killed this snake, I wouldn't have been able to hit the snake over here in the corner. And I also think that secondary spells make some interesting synergies because this one, for example, fires when you kill an enemy. But I could have a spell that fires when you use your relic. And then it might be interesting to have a relic with a lower cooldown timing because then you can activate your secondary spell more quickly. Or a secondary spell that fires when you deal over a certain amount of damage, which would then be beneficial to increase your damage output on your primary spell. Otherwise, it wouldn't trigger. Or maybe a secondary spell that fires every time you get a critical. And then you want to buy charms in the shop that will increase your chance of getting criticals. So I think there's some interesting synergies there with the secondary spells. That's going to be it for WASarD and this devlog. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of what the game is like, some of the features in it, and if you're interested in me doing some tutorial content on the features that you see, again, let me know in the comments below. Wishlist the game on Steam. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.